Okay. Hi. Hi. Um, I don't know how well this is gonna go. I'm actually quite exhausted and drained in a very good way. Um, I hope it's okay for me to say this, but I just got off the phone with Sam. Um, I'll keep it. I'll just say Sam for now. Sam is somebody who is going to be in shift 30 for 30, and who I was introduced to via another friend who's going to be in shift 30, Rob. I would imagine the people who might listen to this know who I'm talking about. Um, but yeah, I just had a long phone call with Sam. Oh man, I think I'm spent. Yeah, we talked about so much. He's a fucking good listener. I gotta say that. He's very good at turning turning the conversation around and like redirecting it to you and asking you very good questions and making you feel good about just going on rants for long periods of time. So in many ways, I feel like it was one of those conversations where you feel like it was really awesome and really fun, but then you realize like, holy shit, I just talked so fucking much. So thank you, Sam, for giving me that opportunity to talk about shit. Um, it was fun though. There's so much more that I want to talk to Sam about, and I guess that's kind of what uh, sort of a segue into the rest of this recording is what is shift 30 for 30 gonna be like, because I had someone else asking me the other day because they're sort of interested. I did kind of like go out of my way to invite this person, so they might not really be up their alley, which is totally fine. But they were wondering, what more specifically, what does it entail? What does it look like day by day, concretely? And that's something that Sam and I also talked about. Um, so as you can see on the screen, maybe let me just zoom in even more. Sam um, put up this thread the other day about, are we all just rediscovering and reapplying the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching and non-doing in different domains? And this was like kind of a core part of our conversation today, because um, I guess I'm comfortable sharing this. I shared with Sam that when I initially saw this tweet of his the other day, I honestly had like kind of a douchey reaction. I had like a very pompous part of me uh, speak up, and it was like, "Oh yeah, cool, dude, you're catching up finally," or like you and everyone else are catching up. Um, and all I mean by that is like, I grew up around a lot of Eastern philosophy. I grew up in Hawaii, and Hawaii is extremely influenced by Japan and Asia generally. There are a lot of Buddhist monasteries of different sorts all around, and I grew up going to those, not like because we were Buddhist, but just because it was part of the culture and it was something that we enjoyed doing. My parents had bookshelves worth of stuff on Buddhism and Taoism. You know, um, you might know those books, the Tao of Pooh, right, and the Day of uh, Piglet, which are like fun little books that make the concepts of the Tao Te Ching more accessible through the lessons, or like showing it through Winnie the Pooh. I grew up with those around. So the Tao Te Ching has always been a part of my life. It's always been the, like, of all the sort of spiritual traditions, the one that I've gravitated to most, or has just like made the most intuitive sense to me. And I did in 2017, at the same time as I started getting into improv, have like a very deep, significant phase where I was like really interested in Taoism. So when I saw Sam's tweet, I was like, oh yeah, awesome, dude. You're catching up. But honestly, like, I've had a few days since then, and I don't necessarily feel like this sort of douchey, pompous way about it. Like, it's awesome. It's honestly, it's great. It's great that like people are expressing this stuff and exploring this stuff in this way, right? Like that Michael Ashcroft is like pushing and sharing about Alexander technique so much and non-doing. Like, it's wonderful because I really, really believe in that. And yeah, so this was like kind of the recurring theme of our conversation, was like how more and more people are doing this and exploring this way of being in different domains of their life. And that's what, yeah, like that's kind of what Shift 30 is for and is about, and who it's for. Is like, I'm seeing this, and I've been doing this for a while. I've been, as a result of many things, like, one way to tell the story is that you could like point to improv and acting as the sort of experience that transitioned me from being like very rigid and being very top down and non-spontaneous and very doing focused in like every area of my life, right? Eating, cooking, professional, writing, fitness, social, all these things. Transitioned me to being much more spontaneous, learning to listen to myself and trust myself and let things happen and flow. And yeah, in this sort of Tao Te Ching way, this non-doing way, like I've been doing that for like almost, like 5 years now, very explicitly, and like progressively every area of my life that I can. And that's largely, that way of approaching things is largely the impetus behind Shift 30. Is seeing people do, well, fuck, I've done it, right? Like buying program after program after program, different courses on like different areas of your life, whether it's about writing or social skills or project management or fitness or eating or whatever, right? And they just give you like all these standards that aren't yours because you don't know how to trust yourself. And let me say that again. Because I don't know how to trust myself. I don't really know what I want, and if I do have some sense of what I want, I don't trust that that is okay to want and to go after. So I go look for some really fucking confident person who seems to know their shit and puts themselves out there as a guru, and I'm like, oh, okay, let me take the standard from you. Let me subjugate myself and my aims and my goals to what you say is the right way to be and the right way to do things, right? Like, let me do intermittent fasting, or let me do paleo, or let me follow all your dieting rules, or let me conform to what you say is like the correct standards of fitness, like in the body measurements that I should have, or like the certain amounts of weight that I should be able to lift, right? Like, how much should I be able to deadlift? How much should I be able to squat? That kind of shit. Or like rules to follow, how to write well, how to do marketing correctly, right? because I don't trust myself to figure it out. And I feel like I'm going to fuck it up in some really bad way, and I'm going to have like be deeply ashamed of myself if I don't do it correctly. So I seek out the expertise of other people, and I just like do that over and over and over and over again. And I've spent thousands of dollars doing that in so many areas of my life. But then I do like so little of the actual program, because it's just like gives me a little blip of a moment where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm committed to this. I'm going to change my life. But then nothing really changes. And the times when I have really applied myself, it's been such a grind. Like maybe you've seen, or maybe you've read my 21 Days of Sensitivity writing series. I wrote that like just before lockdown in 2020. Yeah. And I succeeded with that. It was 21 days. I wrote every single day. I'm proud of what I wrote. But by the end of it, I was so burned out on writing. I didn't write anything outside of work for like 2 years. Or at least a year. I didn't have any interest. I didn't have any like motivation to. And there's a variety of reasons for that. One, because I just pushed myself so damn hard and I just burned out. Two, because I overexposed myself emotionally and I put myself out there way too vulnerably in a way that I really wasn't ready for. So my, again, IFS language, like protectors came in and be like, all right, well, we're closing up. That's way too vulnerable. Right? So that happened to me. And I've seen other people go through some of that same thing with other writing challenges. And it sucks because I know these people have a lot to say. They're so fucking smart. They have so much to share and they so want to express themselves. But they just butt up against this, like, we all have it, this perfectionism, right? Which is so difficult to get over. That's like why we have the idea of like blank page syndrome. It's like, I don't know what to write there, and whatever I put on it, I'm gonna judge it so hard as being not good, and so I can't even start. And so writing, let alone anything else, can be so hard to do and so draining because of our own judging of ourselves and lack of trust about our ability to just do it. So I've been through that and I've seen other people go through that. And I've been able with writing and other things to go through that to another side of it where it's like, I can just start to like dissolve these rules. Or I guess it's multifaceted, or it's like I realize that, I can trust myself actually. I don't have to force it. I don't have to think that I suck as a default way of seeing myself and my work. Like, I trust that I can figure it out, and I trust that what I make and what I do is going to be okay, even if it's not perfect. So there's that side of it. And then, I want to write. I want to make things. I want to eat healthy. I want to be fit. I want to make friends. All these different things. I have that desire in me. What's stopping me most of the time is my fears, my shames about myself, my lack of sense of like self-worth. The rules that I have adopted from other people and the standards that I've taken on from other people, which aren't my own, that I feel like I have to live up to. But I've experienced over the last several years now that you can actually begin to melt those away and take those away and realize that like they're not yours. And those are the things often that are stopping you from doing the thing that you want. And when you work with them, when you learn to trust yourself, when you learn that they're not yours and you put them aside through various methods, right? That's why Shift 30 is not about teaching you any one particular method, because a lot of you are already doing this work in some capacity in your own favorite way. But when you do that and you learn to trust yourself and you learn to like get rid of all of these rules around everything, you just start doing the things you want to do, and it's fun and it doesn't take that much effort, and you're non-doing, it just flows. I'm not planning this video. I'm not saying it's the best video ever, right? I'm not like strategizing this whole fucking video series of how to promote Shift 30. Not at all. This is completely spontaneous, but I prefer it that way right now, you know? It's not going to make me the most sales, so I'm not saying it's the best possible way to do marketing. No way. But I'm enjoying myself, and I'm going to do it again tomorrow. And this is not draining me, and I'm not going to walk away from this feeling like, oh my God, is this going to work? I can't believe I said that. Like, I made a mistake there. Oh, fuck, you know? It's just fun, and I get to say what I want to say and be done with it. So that's what Shift 30 is about. It's like there are all these people in different domains who are starting to approach this kind of stuff more and more and more, right? Sasha Chapin in writing, Sam with fitness, Paul Millard in general with work, Michael Ashcroft, right, with attention and physicality in Alexander technique. There's Rob with his marketing ideas. Like, Rob is really helping people free themselves from this like rigid top-down marketing approach that like so many of us have fallen into, as if that's the only way to do it, and that we can actually have fun with it and do things that are unique to us, you know? Rob's doing a wonderful job with that. So there are all these different people, right? And there's more, but these are just a few that are mentioned here. That are approaching things in this way. And yet everyone's still siloed off from each other. And it's like, you guys, we're all fucking doing this. Let's hang out. Let's talk about it. But I'm not seeing that happen. Right? And that's largely what Shift 30 is about and why I want it to happen. I've been describing it here and there as a felt sense fiesta, as a sort of extension of Vibe Camp. I didn't get to go to Vibe Camp, or I guess I chose not to because I just didn't have the space to go there. But this is like an extension of that. You know, I have things to teach, but my intention with Shift 30 for 30 is not to just fucking lecture the whole time. I'm not the expert here. I have some expertise. I have experiences to share. I have lessons that might be valuable to other people, but it's not me as guru, right? Like, I want Sam to come in and talk about gardening and talk about fitness and like geek out about how he's approaching and what he's learning from those domains of his life, and incorporating this non-doing approach there, right? Because he's gone deeper into that than me, and he works with people as a trainer. You know, I want to learn from him there, and I think probably a lot of other people could learn a lot from him there. Rob has been doing the art of accomplishment, and it's been fucking amazing for him. He just gushes to me about it every time we talk. And I would love to hear him talk about that, right? And what he's learning from that, and what kind of experiences he's having from that are getting him to be more comfortable with who he is, and like trusting himself, and recognizing the importance of his body in his life, things like that, you know? So like there's all these different people who have joined who are so smart in their own domains, you know, and maybe they are like leaders in their domain, right? Rob has his own coaching and he has his own courses, and Sam is a fitness guy and he works with people on fitness, right? There are other people who are joined who are similar to that, and so they can talk about their work, right? But everyone can talk about it. Like everyone has experience, everyone has valuable experience, and we're all doing this again, right? Like somebody asked me recently about Shift 30, and I was like telling them that I was like explaining it through the point of view of writing, and how like this is about working with all of the internal emotional obstacles that we have around writing that make it so difficult for us to write, right? Which is what which I think Sam pointed out about Sasha's course, anti-grinding principle, right? It's like you don't have to work so freaking hard. The rules and the approaches and the attitudes that we have about writing that we've learned from school and work inhibits the flow of language, and it makes writing fucking miserable, right? Like I've experienced that to be true because my entire career has been as a professional writer. So I totally understand that. It's very true. And the more I have worked with the emotional obstacles that make writing so hard, and realize that I can trust myself and that I can, let it flow, I've become so much more prolific, and I've been able to share way more and think more and have way more fun as a writer, right? So there are other people who are doing that, people working on writing. But we're all doing, all of us, I mean, there are so many of us doing different things, bringing this approach to that domain, and yet we're all still so much siloed off from each other. There are people even in the same courses together that don't even know that they're both in the same courses, let alone that like someone else, maybe someone in Sasha's course is doing Alexander technique, but then like, do those people ever talk? Because they fucking should, because they're doing a lot of the same work. They're just kind of applying it to different areas of their life. So that's what Shift 30 for 30 is about. It's a felt sense fiesta. It's a party where we can all come together over the course of 30 days and geek out about this stuff and realize that we're all doing the same work, right? And we can share perspectives and learn from each other and do it together. So I guess I've gotten some energy back. But yeah, so that's a lot of what it was. And like, this is a lot of what Sam and I talked about. And we just had a fucking blast for an hour and a half, just like talking about all sorts of things. And I asked him at the end, I was like, if Shift 30 for 30 were nothing more than 30 days of like opportunities to have these sorts of like exciting conversations where we're like connecting the dots and being like, oh shit, you're doing that too, like I want to hear, like I want to learn about how you're approaching that, or like let me share my perspective on doing that with you, right? Like if it was just 30 days of these like super fun, super exciting conversations, enlivening conversations, like how would you feel about that? And Sam was like, dude, that would be fucking awesome. And I was happy to hear that, because for me that would be fucking awesome. That would be genuinely so much fun. That's why I'm calling it a party. Because yeah, I'm not trying to be the expert here. I'm not trying to be the guru. I'm not trying to lecture the whole time. I want to meet you. I want to learn from you. And yeah, I'll have things to share. I'm happy to work with you. I'm happy to answer questions. But this is a party. It's a fiesta. It's a gathering, you know? If you don't want to talk, you don't have to talk. If you want to talk and you have things to share, please do. Literally, think about it like a party. Like, everyone's going to want to approach a party in a different way. And maybe some days or at some parts of the party, you're going to have more energy and you're going to want to dance and you're going to want to fucking sing. Maybe you just want to sit on the couch and have a conversation. But that's what I'm trying to bring together here with Shift 30. Is creating a space for everyone who's doing this to hang out and geek out about this stuff and buoy each other up. As I learned in improv, right? Like that saying, I've got your back before you ever start a scene or a game in improv. You say that. I've got your back, because improv is all about having each other's back and being there for each other. It doesn't work without intense trust and support. And when you have that, you become capable of so much more than you ever thought you were. Like, improv was like one of the most life-changing things I've ever done. And I would be happy to talk about improv because, yeah, that's largely, what led to this. Improv is how I can be talking in this video with no script, with no plan, and be totally comfortable about it. I didn't used to be able to do that. Not even a little bit, right? So there's also like ultra speaking, people who have done ultra speaking, because that's about improv, getting comfortable speaking off the cuff, right? That too is another version of approaching a domain of life and activity with this sort of non-doing attitude. So again, yeah, there's just so much. There's so many people doing this in different areas, and I want to bring us all together and realize that we're all doing the same thing and like we can learn from each other, right? So that's what that is. That's what I'm trying to make. That's what I'm trying to create. That's what I'm trying to inspire. Concretely, that means, I'm going to have a call every single day. Probably not the weekends. I guess that'll kind of depend on what energy I have. But like at least every day of the week, Monday through Friday, I'm going to get on Zoom. And I'll be there for 2 hours. I don't know if I'm having a good time. If there are people there, maybe more. And I'll be there to work with you, chat with you, have a conversation, just fucking geek out about shit. So that was another question that people have had, is like, what is the expectation? Like, what is it that I'm expecting of people or asking of people if they do this? And, it's really not a lot. Like I'm saying, it's a party. It's not a challenge. And I guess I've said that elsewhere. It's like, but this really isn't a challenge. I'm not a fan of challenges. I don't think that they really work. I think that sometimes they work in the short term and it can be fun and exciting, but like, if we're going to talk about like that whole infinite game idea, which I don't know if I've ever said out loud, but if we're going to talk about infinite game and like doing things in a fun, sustainable way, I don't think challenges are helpful. You can do a lot in 30 days, but then you'll just be burnt out. So this, I'm borrowing the name Shift 30 for 30 from the obvious. I'm not going to say it, but you know what that's inspired by. It's a writing challenge, right? But a lot of people get burnt out by that sort of thing. So there's no expectation here of like you have to like do some intense thing every single day. It's 30 days of like having the intention to like, maybe spend some time with yourself, focusing, listening to your body, sitting with your emotions, working with your felt sense. But like, if it's only for 5 minutes, that's fine. If it's only for 1 minute, that's fine, right? If you only have the capacity to come and hang out on the calls and like connect with other people and talk about it, that's fine. If you want to go really deep and really hard with it, that's cool too. There's no rules with this. Because like that's the principle of like what we were talking about before, is like having self-trust. I'm not giving you a standard here. It's your standard. It's how much you want to do. If you want to push beyond your comfort zone, push. If you want to hang out in your comfort zone, hang out there. Because if you feel unsafe going out of your comfort zone, then respect that. Right? So in a concrete way, that's what that is. Like every day for July, I'm going to create that space for people to come and talk and work with people. Whatever it happens to be, it's going to really be spontaneous. There's not a lot of structure to this. But yeah, I'll have things to teach. I have a particular method that I think is like the easiest thing, much easier than IFS, much easier than focusing, that I've been working with for the last couple years, that can be pretty profoundly effective. And I will teach that. You know, I'm not saying that you should necessarily use it or that it will necessarily work for you, but it could be helpful. And that's about, again, peeling back these standards that you have for yourself and allowing yourself to just be who you are and not spend all your energy trying to not be a certain way or trying to be a certain way, so that you can actually just have energy to be how you spontaneously, genuinely are. Because oftentimes when you allow yourself to be that way, you end up doing the things that you want. That's what I've experienced. So I'll teach that, I'll teach that in the first, I'll teach it over and over again. It doesn't matter. Like, if you want to know how it works, I'll teach you, And I will be preparing a document of things that I think are like good resources going into this, right? Because felt shifts require having an attunement to your body and being able to listen to your body. And some of us don't have that. I didn't used to have that. So I will share with you like different kinds of meditation work that I do that helps tap into that and gain sensitivity there. I'll share with you some basic instructions about how to do focusing. I'll share with you some other stuff from my studies in the nervous system and somatic work that are going to be very important in like taking care of yourself, right? Because you will be exposing yourself. If you do this to any extent, you probably will be making yourself in some way vulnerable. If you bring up exiles, that's a vulnerable thing, and you got to take care of yourself there. So I'll be sharing these resources, and I'll put that together and I'll share it before we begin. So if you want to, you can try to do that meditation that I share and do it every day, or do it however much you want. So yeah, in that concrete way, I will give you some things that you can try. Ways that will allow you to cultivate a greater attunement with your body and a better ability to listen and hear your felt sense. I'll give you that. And you can do it as much as you want. But there's no I'm not asking you to do it a certain amount. It's up to you. Whatever you're comfortable with is the right amount. So I feel like I came to the end of my rant there about what this all is. I don't know if it's clearer now. I think the person who asked me this question the other day was probably hoping for a more like parsed out answer, and I'm sorry that I can't give you a much more defined curriculum, but that's not how this is meant to work, and it never has been meant to work that way. So yeah, if you want to come, know that it's going to be loose. It's not going to have a strict structure. It's going to be very spontaneous. Spontaneity is a deeply important concept in the Tao Te Ching. Spontaneity. And so it's deeply important to me as well. Not because of it being in the Tao Te Ching, but just like it is one of my highest priorities, spontaneity and cultivating spontaneity. So a lot of it is going to be off the cuff. Structure is not going to be predetermined. It's going to be a party, and parties, you never really know how parties are going to go. You got to read the room. You got to get in the room and just see what's happening. So, yeah, that's what Shift 30 is going to be all about. And if you have more questions, please ask me. I will continue answering them in the days going forward. I plan to record these every day up to the beginning of Shift 30 and then through the extent of Shift 30 and potentially after, as a sort of like reflecting on the whole experience. So I will be talking about Shift 30 a lot. And there will be a lot to listen to, so obviously you don't have to listen to all of it. That would be ridiculous. But it will be there for you if you want to listen. So, yeah. That's that. Thank you, Sam, for the incredible phone call earlier today. It really made me excited for Shift 30. Like I said, if every day is just an opportunity to have a conversation like that with just one person, let alone a group of people, I will be so satisfied. And I think you guys will be too.